Welcome to this week's edition of the Hard Rock Show. I'm Andrew.
Mick.
I'm Dave.
I'm Brendan.
I'm Tim.
We did it again. See, Mick, you have little faith. We got it right. For now. We'll probably fuck it up later on. Now, make sure you are following all of our social media channels. That's the best way to keep up to date with everything we have going on. And also, please, if you'd be so kind, support us via Patreon as well. Speaking of supporters, we have a shout out to our sponsors, Squidding Screen Printing, Old Colt and Rockstar Finance. So please do check them out and follow them on social. If nothing else, every little bit does count. And also check out Old Colt in particular at the moment because they're doing that battle jacket giveaway thing too. So check out their socials for more information on that. So if you've been following us along at home with the recent near-death experience of community television, we've decided to revamp the format and do things differently with the online space, taking more of a focus for us. So this is a different sort of format to how we're doing things. It's very much the same as what we did recently with the deep cuts. It's just that we're now morphing into what's going to be more current with this side of things. And the TV side of things, we're sort of cutting out of what we have done with the online stuff here and also using that to broadcast clips for bands as well, just so everyone knows what our kind of thinking is at the moment. So tonight, for this little episode here, we're going to be covering off Metallica's S&M2, John Petrucci's Terminal Velocity, and also Melbourne band Vanishing Point with their latest Dead Elysium. We'll also have a hot topic on some touring in Australia at the moment. But before we do get stuck in that, how is everyone going? Mick, how are you keeping up since I spoke to you last?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Still, it's another week. We made it. So I look at every day nearly, but once we get to the end of the week, it's like, yeah, fuck, all right, okay, I'm still living. Don't believe I have COVID. Probably do. No, it's still pretty crazy at work and stuff, but, you know, it could be worse. So, yeah, no, I'm here.
Cool.
That's good.
Dave, how about you?
Yeah, I go to work, come home, play with my kids, drink beer, play guitar. That's it.
Solid.
All things in life, yeah.
So, lockdown hasn't affected you at all, Dave?
No.
Brendan, how about you? What have you been doing? We haven't had you on this sort of format of the show yet, apart from jumping in and out to randomly chat to us. So,
I had to shut my business down, of course, in the last wave. So, but you know, I'd been spending a good 18 months setting it up. So where I've been working 6 days a week, I'm now enjoying what we've called delightfully tagged a month of Sundays. So, I get up leisurely, I go for a walk, do a bit of a workout, play some music, play some PlayStation, and I'm having a ball for the moment, but I'm probably teetering on the edge of going mad. So,
We all are.
but for the time being, it's all good.
So when you start breaking randomly into I'm a lumberjack, we'll know you've cracked.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, no, that's actually pretty normal too.
just singing it or living it?
Both.
No. All right, Tim, how are
All
you?
the trees in Richmond are just going to suddenly be falling down.
Yeah. I'll be pressing wildflowers.
Buttered scones for tea. Tim, how about you? How are you going?
Yeah. Keep on keeping on, man.
Well, you're on built for this, apparently, so...
Oh no, this is nothing much has changed for me outside of not really playing gigs. So apart from that, it's the same old.
Oh, there's some squawking going on in the background. We are doing this while there's a Collingwood game going on, so several people are watching the game, and I'm not because I'm the idiot because I've got a pause on the TV over there, so I'll get back to it when we're done. But for now, how about we get into the hot topic for this week, and that is... There's a few, I guess for lack of a better term, aborted attempts to try and get some local bands touring across Australia. Every time sort of someone tries to set something like this up, it tends to go pear-shaped pretty quickly, mostly because Victoria keeps going into lockdown. So basically, we'll just go into seeing what people think, does it do more harm than good at the moment? Are we okay with it? Do we just think that everyone should just wait? Just what are your general thoughts on it? How about a randomly pick? Let's go with Mick first for this time around. What do you think of the attempted to get tours going at the moment?
Nothing. Now we're back. Okay. To be honest with you, I think it's really, I can understand it from a business point of view. I think every business, no matter what you are, would love to be back doing what you're doing. but the whole purpose of this thing is we don't know how it spreads because it's just so contagious that large gatherings is the whole big no-no, and it's global. So concerts is the more people, the better, isn't it? So so they've kind of, it's silly if you ask me. I mean, we all want it. We're all music lovers. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
But you can't have your cake and eat it too. Then again, you got Fozzy doing gigs in the US and whatever. That didn't go down too well, but look, I can see why they want to do it and stuff like that. And because, there has been a bit of a pause in society, you think that people are itching to go to gigs, and 9 people out of 10 probably are, and they probably will jump on any gig to go to another show. But it defeats the purpose of what we're trying to do, in terms of a health thing. So, it's almost like those commercials on TV where it's like, come into our showroom and see the latest things, but you can't actually go out at your fucking 5K radius. So why are you promoting, it's just, you can't have it. So don't do it. Every band that I can think of in the last 6 months has cancelled their tours, other than Kiss and Metallica because they're just probably too old. But everyone else is cancelling for this exact reason. So what makes you think that a local band or a band that's on the way up is going to be able to do it any better than, an international act like Iron Maiden? So it's, I just think it's creating more anxiety and angst, and we don't need that because there's enough of that going on with stuff that we can't control, being told to stay indoors and you can't go out after 8 p.m., for example. So, there's the neighbours again. They're going. It must have been a bad decision. So, I'm thinking it's probably gone against Collingwood. So.
Okay. I'll know when I catch up. I'll correlate the time frame of this to what's going on.
Just make a note at the quarter. Yeah. But look, without going around in circles, I just until I guess it's not so much a vaccine, but until there's some kind of clear pathway of how we can get together. There's no such thing as a concert.
Yeah. Brendan, what about you?
Oh, look, I appreciate their optimism. I really do. Like they're trying to move forward. They're kidding themselves, but they're trying. And fucking good luck to them. Like in a perfect world, we'd be planning buddy single launches and album launches and all this kind of stuff now. And, we're putting like a framework together. But until we get some kind of green light, you don't know. And everyone's an expert, as we well know, as we were discussing briefly earlier.
Yeah.
There's a couple of ways to deal with this thing, and you can go one way or the other. I don't know what's right, wrong, or otherwise. I'm not going to pretend to. There's people a lot smarter than me. They don't seem to know either. So, look, it's ambitious to be planning stuff. I think they're kidding themselves, but, maybe they're just keeping their mind occupied and trying to keep everyone a bit positive. But I wish them the best of luck.
Dave, what about you?
Look, it's always cool to have something to look forward to. Usually your average year, you got heaps of gigs coming up months in advance. And I know some have been rescheduled, and I just saw Crash Diet's been postponed again.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, Dream Theater still have it down for late November, but I'm guessing that's going to be it's going to be postponed. It's not going to happen. But, you see local bands popping up every now and then, and you're like, yep, that'd be cool, but I don't see it happening. But on the other hand, it could in a couple of months. We don't know. That's the whole thing. Nobody knows. And I can understand touring companies wanting to be the first cab off the ranks. If you've got something ready to go and it can, bang, you're organized, it's going to happen. But once again, we're in that decision, that time when it's just, there's no guarantee. So what do you do?
Tim?
Yeah, just to quickly, when we're talking about touring, mainly talking like on a national level.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've seen, you know, small bands. Like, I know there's a couple of gigs at Frankie's and in Sydney, and there's a couple of some small shows in Adelaide where everyone's been seated and spaced apart. And
I've been able to have some gigs too.
yeah, exactly. So for a small scale, you know, obviously being in Victoria, you know, hopefully we're all sensible enough the next couple of months we can get to doing that. But on a national scale, like, you know, half the states aren't even willing to aren't going to be opening their borders until at least next year. So that's probably not going to happen. And I mean, obviously these things take a long time to organise. But for me personally, I wouldn't be buying tickets to it just because, like, we don't know when these things are going to be taken. Everybody's, you know, you're not going to get refunded for it because everybody's just going to go postpone it. So what's the?
But I can't fathom having a spacing at a gig. You know,
Yeah.
like that's not a gig to me. You know, part of the whole thing is that everyone's together and, you know, it is a bit crammed or it's fucking mega hot or it's whatever. It's that energy in the room. Like, no, you stand over there and you jump on the one spot because you're a mosher, but don't touch anybody.
That might have to do with something about the genre we enjoy too. Like,
Yeah.
I see everyone sitting around at a jazz club, you know, like, you know, smoking long cigarettes and, you know, like, they can probably make that work.
I didn't realise there was different length cigarettes, but I guess it depends on what you're smoking. But anyways,
Well, yes,
I just, you know, it's not so much a genre thing because, you know, the stupid rave heads are in massive lumps, you know, like, and
I can't imagine there's going to be a
drinking
dance
water
concert for a long
together
time.
and cheering. So, you know,
So,
yeah, I just don't get it. I don't know why you would. Yeah, like Brendan said, the optimism's good, but it ain't gonna happen, man.
yeah. What do you reckon, Andrew?
I think everyone really appreciates the optimism. I don't think, though, that with all the uncertainty going on, I don't think that touring companies will be actually pushing this hard for it if there was genuine government support for the arts. So if these businesses were able to access things like JobKeeper and that, I don't think we'd be seeing these attempts at leveraging stuff because you do want to be first cab off the rank. You want to try and make sure you got some bankroll coming in as soon as you possibly can. And being first off is going to be the one that makes you the most money because if you've got that one lined up and it just happens to hit the timing just right, you're going to break it in. The downside to that is that I think that because everything keeps being announced, then postponed, pushed back, cancelled, whatever else, is that it completely erodes consumer confidence, which means, and people are going to be shy as fuck. Like, you won't get the same turnout that you were expecting at any other gig because people are still going to be scared of this thing for quite some time to come yet. And so you're not going to get the turnout you're expecting. You can't have the turnout you want because you've got to have spatial and number restrictions in the venues anyway. And I think on top of that, we're now in recession. And so I think people are going to be much tighter with their money. So I think there's better uses for the energy attached to that sort of stuff. Like some companies have done things like where they're making a point of supporting local bands because they're the ones that'll be the support acts for that later on. I think that sort of stuff can be explored a lot further the more that, you know, they start promoting and exploring local bands and everyone works together to push the local scene. That could be a really good thing because by the time we are able to do gigs, again, it'll be local bands first and foremost before you get anything from overseas coming in. So I think there's a different conversation and different ways to use energy than we're seeing right now, where it's just, here's a tour. Oh no, we got to postpone it. And just back and forth. And then by the time one actually happens, people are going to go, well, I didn't buy a ticket and I can't be bothered buying one last minute. So, because everyone's used to staying at home now too. So it'll be interesting. Like I said, I get it. But I don't think it'd be as big a thing as it is at the moment if we had genuine support for the arts. I think there was an article kicking around today where they still haven't been able to prove any money's been spent on the art sector whatsoever, despite the announcement with Guy Sebastian a little while ago.
We're all shocked by this.
Of all people, you know.
Yeah, I know.
If we could talk about a positive on it, though, like some of the venues are doing some very clever things.
They are. Whole lot of Love doing very well. Yeah.
Whole lot of Love did some really clever stuff, you know, where, you know, you tip in your bit of money and you get your merch and stuff, but also, you know, you get like a medallion and a drink card and all this stuff. So sort of pre-ordering a few drinks to keep them afloat. Last Chance Rock and Roll Bar did a really cool one, sent one out to the bands this week because they'd sort of cleaned off all their walls because they're using this opportunity to sort of upgrade the place a bit. Yep. But they want to re-sticker it with bands. So any bands that had stickers, send us 10 and we'll put them on these different panels around. All these little things are really clever to try and keep a bit of public interest.
Yeah.
And I admire that because, they're getting fuck all help from anywhere else. So, I think that's good. Yeah.
I think more of that sort of stuff is the better way to use the energy at the moment. I would like to see more of that. The investment in the community, just time-wise, getting everyone to work together more in general terms because there's no competition right now anyway, so we may as well work together to do some stuff and then hopefully build a stronger scene when we're able to launch again from that.
Speaking of which, do you know how hard it is to find an envelope and a stamp in your fucking house these days? No one's got envelopes and stamps.
Nope.
And the guy downstairs, I'm like, we have an envelope and a stamp? He goes, I think you've got the wrong number, mate. I'm not fucking 60. I actually had to go to the post office and purchase a prepaid envelope.
Oh, really? Wow.
Who the fuck's got envelopes?
You don't have envelopes anymore. It's all satchels for selling out merch. That's what you
put that in the bin.
Oh, there you go. There's a bin for later on. Spoiler alert for everyone. All right. Let's move along. Let's go to the first review for this week. Then we're going to talk about Vanishing Point with Dead Elysium. 10 tracks for 59 minutes. It's the 6th album from the Melbourne band, released August 2020 by AFM Records, only about a week or so ago as we do this now. Produced by Dean Wells. This is the band's first album since 2014 and comes after a trying time for this band, including a significant lineup change. Going to throw to you, Tim. Are you ready to go first on this one?
Yep.
Go for it.
I thought this was a very quality heavy metal album.
Yep.
Really well put together, spectacularly recorded. I thought the vocals were fantastic. It came through really crisp and clear. Wonderful melodies. Got a great voice as well.
Yeah, Silvio's great.
Yeah, and I mean, this band's kicked ass for a long time, and they are old faithful. I mean, they've obviously had some bumps along the road, but for mine, you wouldn't be able to tell listening to this because I thought this was a really quality release. I think Salvis also was my highlight.
Okay, cool.
I thought that was a really well put together song, really well put together album. Fantastic work.
Cool. What'd you give it out of 10?
8.5.
8.5. Cool. All right, Dave. Work up to you now.
On this, the composition is outstanding. This is definitely right up my alley. The symphonic elements work perfectly with the metal elements, and it'd be cool to hear the orchestra stuff just on its own because that in itself is cool. You add it to the metal part, and that on itself is cool, but together it's just out of this world. Fucking awesome. Right up my alley, like I said. It's mixed really well. Often with symphonic metal albums, the metal can drain out the symphonic or the symphonic can drown out the metal. They don't really gel all the time, but this is done really well. The balance is perfect. There's a lot of emotional depth in the lyrics, and the vocals are, as Tim said, the singing is outstanding. It's always good. These guys are killer live. If you haven't seen them, unfuck it. You're going to get a good show. Musicianship is great, killer guitar riffs, and once again, the orchestration brings a whole new level to the riffs. Killer melodies, and the various parts just flow seamlessly from one part to the other. The songs never get boring. They're just amazing music. I gave this 9 out of 10.
Cool.
My standouts were Recreate the Impossible, The Healing, which has a killer guitar solo, Dead Elysium, and The Fall.
Nice. All right, Brendan, over to you.
Okay, this power metal thing's not normally my kind of vibe, but geez, it's hard to overlook this, and it's hard to say anything bad about it because it's bloody well done. I couldn't really pick a fault with it in any way. Like I said, it's not the kind of thing I'd go to all the time, but much like when I saw these guys live, not really my thing, but just couldn't take my eyes off them. They were bloody impressive. You can't fault the musicianship. You certainly can't fault the recording. I think it's captured incredibly well. The songwriting and structure's all phenomenal. As I said, not the kind of thing I'd play, but it's a taste thing, nothing more than that. I can certainly appreciate the talent going on here because he's fucking out of this world. I gave it 8.5 out of 10. The highlights I had were Salvis, The Fall, and Dead Elysium.
Okay, cool. It's going well so far. Mick, you going to continue that trend?
Maybe. I have been very critical in the past of Silvio's voice, but geez, the band sounds energized and refocused to the point where I think this blows Tangled in Dream, which is the one that I liked, out of the water. What I do like about it is the darker guitar tone, or maybe it's a D tune or something like that, which really modernized and sort of brought them into today's sort of sound. It was sort of like a cross between Lacuna Coil's more recent stuff and Dream Theater in spots, which is what they've always done. So it was a good progression. It didn't sound dated, as already been touched on. The production was fantastic. Everything just came through the speakers so good. This band's won me back just on this release. There was one that we did a few months ago and I didn't think much of it at all. But this seemed to be a good length, even though there's a lot of longer type songs that didn't feel tired.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. It has everything that you love about Vanishing Point if you already know the band, just with a lot of great new songs. I gave it a 10 out of 10. I couldn't find any flaws in this at all. I like the fact that they didn't oversaturate the sound with the keyboards, which has happened on earlier albums in the past. Everything was really tastefully done and really awesome, like I said, 10 out of 10. Count the Days, Recreate the Impossible, and The Ocean were my standouts. But really, it's from top to bottom, it's a great album.
Wow, cool. Well, we're off to a good start on this side of things tonight. For me, it's just good to see them back. And the long time between drinks since 2014, and whenever we've had sort of requests to play these guys or to talk to them, which we're going to try and line up an interview with them soon too, but to try and do anything to try, catch up with them since 2014, the only thing we've had to sort of deal with is the extravaganza, the headline for us, which, by the way, they fucking knocked it out of the park on. So, I think Australia in general has a bit of an underrated melodic metal sort of, or symphonic metal scene. I think these guys are right up there across the board for what we have here. Like this has everything you want. You've got the riffs, the solos, the synth, the pounding rhythm section, all that sort of stuff. The vocals are fantastic. I like the way all the elements have come together on this, and they've got a really cool use of space in their writing too on this record. It's really well written, really well performed. You can't fault any of those things about it. Again, the lyrics, I think Dave focused on those before as well. They're fantastic on this. The whole thing is well crafted, just all around. But I like the hooks. Like there are some really catchy hooks, but not only in the vocals, but also in the guitar work. There are bits of this that just sort of stick in your head and just stay there, which is really well done. And it's like the lyrics have deep and meaning, and there's a bit of, heartache and stuff in there, but the actual overall feel of this thing is sort of an uplifting kind of a feel. It feels good to listen to this. Like you put it on and it brings your mood up, as opposed to a lot of the other stuff where they try and bring you down a bit, I guess, for lack of a better term. It's just got a good bit of heart. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's, more major than minor kind of thing in the note choices or something. I don't know. There's something about it that's a bit more positive and uplifting. I think the mix is pretty damn good too. I like it's a bit of a tighter mix than I normally like, but it does work for this style of music. It does have the nice amount of depth and space where you want it. It does open up nicely where things are supposed to, though, too. And it's cool how the layering is sort of put everything in its right place and things sort of come up and down as required to suit the songs. And the tempo changes along with the track order to make this album fly by. So, Mick was saying that it's not a taxing listen at all, and it's not. Time just flies by when you listen to this, and you can have it on repeat. It's comfortable as all hell.
I just hope it doesn't get lost in the COVID shuffle. There's been a lot of great albums that they're coming out and they're just disappearing.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because it's the lack of touring or whatever, but this is one that I hope it does stay around somehow on social media or gets its just desserts, because it's fucking killer.
Well, hopefully we're helping that process by doing this one, Mick. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, hopefully.
The vocal harmonies on this, and the guitar harmonies too, if that matter, but the use of harmony on this record was the standout element of this for mine. But there was little bits of, beautiful moments for everyone to shine through, but the harmonies were what really caught my attention. And it's nice to have Jennifer from Divine Ascension make a guest appearance on Recreate the Impossible. She fit in really well on that song too.
Now, so who it was?
Yeah, it was. There you go. This whole thing is just a really classy listen. I like the artwork as well. All in all, if you like melodic metal, if you like melodic metal, get on this one now. And I think it's been covered before, but they sound energized on this. So hopefully this is a sign of, bigger and better things to come from this band. I reckon they've locked in and got it really well put together now. Hopefully more rather than having another 6-year wait between albums for mine.
If it takes 6 years to write something like this, I'm willing to wait.
Yeah, okay. Quality over quantity, I'll pay that too. We'll see what happens. It's not in our hands anyway. For my score, I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed this one. Recreate the Impossible, Dead, Elysium, Free, and Count Your Days were my standouts on this one. So
I think virtually every track is a standout between.
Yeah, we've covered it all off. I don't think there's anything wrong we can say about this album. So yeah, please do check it out. Get in the comments and let us know what you think of this one as well. I think probably this is the one to check out, I would say, out of what's coming up in the rest of the episode. So moving on, though, to probably what's going to be more of an interesting review to go next is John Petrucci with Terminal Velocity. Judging on the chat we were having earlier today, we'll see how this one plays out.
Now, if you're going to start that, Andrew, I'm going to start giving scores out in the game. So.
Fine. I'll just move along and keep it business and professional for you, okay, Mick? It's 9 tracks for 55 minutes. It's the second solo studio album from the American guitarist, most known for his work with Dream Theater. Released August 2020 via Rensam Songs and Soundmind Music. Produced by John, but mixed and mastered by Andy Sneap. This is his first solo album since 2005 and also features Mike Portnoy, which happens to make this the first time the two have worked together since Mike left Dream Theater. So let's go to Dave first. Where do you land on this one? Here we go.
Okay, if you're a fan of John Petrucci, you know what you're going to get. Okay, there's going to be no surprises for you. Actually, there is a surprise. We'll get to that later. And, oh my God, it is so good to hear Petrucci playing with Mike Portnoy again. Some musicians just have styles that complement each other. And these guys have been playing music since about 1985, I think. So this is what's been missing from Dream Theater. They just connect musically on a level that's beyond anything that people can understand.
Are they soulmates, Dave?
What's that?
Are they soulmates?
Yeah, they're still friends, which is good. Even though more things can happen, they're still
They're Dave's soulmates.
Yeah.
In Dave's world, they are.
I'm with William Zabka and Axl Rose.
I reckon Dave's got a room full of fan fiction. About
Cobra Kai, Dream Theater, and Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. We'll go on a tour one day. We'll do an interview. It's all good. There's some really nice diversity throughout this album. There's the heavy, which you will expect, and there's some mellow. There's some very melodic stuff, and there's the shred. I'm actually surprised how restrained he is, because we know he could rip it up a lot more than what he does, but he actually sticks a lot to the melodic playing, which is actually nice to hear because he's really good at what he does. There were a few times that I was expecting to hear James LeBray's vocals come out, where a verse or a chorus would be. That's probably because of the Portnoy-Petrucci element. It's so close to Dream Theater, you would expect the vocals to come in, which it doesn't. I know some people were put off Dream Theater by the length of the songs, but this is really easy to listen to because songs range from about 5 to 7 minutes. Great guitar tone, got to compliment that. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a bit of a surprise. There's a song called Out of the Blue, which I'm getting a bit of a Stevie Ray Vaughan vibe off that. If you know the songs Lenny, or I can't remember the other one, but it's on one of his later albums, River Paradise or something. Some of that mellow melodic playing. Yeah, you get that on that. But you also get the killer stuff like Glassy Eyed Zombies, which was probably a major highlight for me. Other standouts were Snake in My Boot, Happy Song, and Temple of Cicadia. I gave this 9 out of 10. Awesome album.
All right, Tim, follow that up.
I was going to make a joke about how, I didn't really research this album, but I was going to make a joke about how, his current drummer plays exactly like his ex, but it turns out it is his ex. Yeah. Anyway. This is
sorry to let you down, Timbo.
Pardon?
Sorry to let you down with that, mate. So.
It's unfortunate, but whatever. As I say, I ripped off those fills as well.
On the new Eat the Damn Orange.
Eat the Damn Orange, yeah.
But what I was going to say is this is an instrumental album. It's a guitar lover's dream. But this is a very well put together instrumental album. This has a lot of instrumental albums fall into the mistake of either trying to overcompensate for the vocals and going too far with it, or they end up just writing regular songs where you you listen to and you think you may as well have just stuck in vocals and it would have made the whole thing a whole lot better. He's written this specifically for a guitar, and he's got all the tones right. Everything sounds great. There's melody, there's motifs, and he's telling his story without actually having to say any words. And it's fantastic. I think this is a really well put together album. Out of the Blue and Happy Song are my highlights, and I'll go 8.5 out of 10 as well.
Wow. Okay, cool. Brendan, over to you.
Mick first.
Oh, Mick first. Okay, Mick. Right. You've had the hospital handball thrown your way, mate. So
no, that's all right. Yeah, for me, this one, look, I agree with Dave to a small point, and that is the fact that Portnoy and Petrucci, there's something about that connection that is missing on later Dream Theater albums after the Portnoy is split. Although Mangini has gotten better, or maybe has gelled more with the band over the years, there's a chemistry between Petrucci and Portnoy that it can't be replicated with anybody else. And you hear it back on here, and that's what makes you go, geez, this is Dream Theater back, you know. That's the problem with this album for me. Other than the guitar tone, which was a really left-of-field guitar tone I thought he used for the majority on this album. You know, it was almost like an 80s David Lee Roth sort of sound. It was very light. It was sort of, I don't know,
glassy.
It was sort of, you know, it wasn't heavy and dark like more recent Dream Theater albums. It was definitely that was what I appreciated the most out of it. But for me, it was like, these were leftover ideas from like Octavarium era Dream Theater, which is the more melodics in recent times, I guess, which is kind of going back maybe 15 years ago, that album. But I just didn't, if you're going to branch out from your major project, it's got to be a lot different. You know, I have the same problem with Labrie. I love what he does as a solo, but it ain't too different to Dream Theater. Like, you might as well just put them together and release it as Dream Theater. Now, they should have got James on there. He could have sung on this, and it could have been another Dream Theater album with a different sort of sound, like a lighter sound overall. But it sounds like Dream Theater. Like, there's nothing. If you love that, great, and I do. But I'll probably won't go back to this, you know, because I don't need to hear an instrumental version. Like, I get more out of Satriani than I do out of this.
Okay. Yep.
And, yeah, it's just, it's kind of like, what's the point? You know? Yeah, it's great playing. That's what they do. You expect that, you know? I still gave it a 7 out of 10 because, you know, it's a drummer that I love and a guitar player that I've got a huge respect for in a band that I really do like. But the element of change wasn't really there. It could have quite easily been a Dream Theater album. So make it a Dream Theater fucking album. 7 out of 10. The Oddfather and Snake in My Boot, which I think Dave said as well. Good songs. But yeah, it didn't wow me. Didn't, you know, it left me going, okay, I've heard you do all this before.
All right. Brendan.
Well, it wowed the shit out of me.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. This is one of the best guitar instrumental albums I've ever heard.
Whoa.
In all honesty, I think this is incredible. I put this up there with like Passion and Warfare and Surfing with the Alien.
See, they're way more diverse than this, man.
This bullshit. This is an amazing. This is an amazing piece of work, and I'll go one step further with my adoration of this thing because I've been listening to this non-stop for all week and love it. This is better than any Dream Theater album I've ever heard. If James's vocals had to come in over this, it would have ruined it for me.
But that's what you need. You need, because there's such good musicians that the vocalist was never going to be good enough. So, you know.
He captured that wonderful balance that you guys were alluding to of that. The problem with the guitar instrumental thing is it can turn into either, you know, a bit of a sort of whiny guitar track, or it could just turn into musical masturbation. And I think he just found that wonderful little bit in the middle where he captured a song using only instruments and no vocal. And it was just, to me, this is an absolute masterpiece. I absolutely adored it. I can't stop listening to it. It's the best thing I've heard all year. 10 out of 10.
Fuck. Wow. Okay. No particular standouts, just the whole thing for you then?
Yes, there were standouts. Terminal Velocity, Glass-Eyed Zombies, of course, because that was fucking incredible. Snake in My Boot. And that was that the country kind of one? It had the weird...
Snake in My Boot had the country playing to it. Yeah,
that was cool.
So it was like a rock sort of vibe.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Great album, amazing.
It's funny that Dave mentioned Out of the Blue before, because I got a bit of an Eric Clapton vibe out of that from that one. But for me, clinical and precise is the best way to describe this. My first pass on this wasn't overly great. It didn't grab me on the first go through, but I do tend to go back to listen to things more than once, and there's a reason for that, because this does get better the more you sit with it. This is very polished, very crisp, very clear in all facets, from sound to style to the way it's done. The whole thing is just that. It's not a lot of these ones that go down this more clinical approach become really devoid of soul, and this one doesn't suffer from that as much as a lot of the other ones do, which is very, very cool. It's not as much feel to the playing as I would personally enjoy, but it's more of a taste thing than anything else. It's still very, very well done. Like, the execution is fucking brilliant. So it took me a minute to appreciate it, but once I appreciated it, it sort of got me. It's okay, you can sit back and go, okay, this is really good, because it does. There are the moments of wankery on it. There are some parts that for me are overplayed on this, and I don't think they serve the song all that well. But at the same time, it still has an element of taste to it, which does save it from, the Malmsteen effect of just fucking going nuts for no purpose whatsoever. At least you could get the point of what was going on with these songs, even for me, who doesn't generally like this sort of release. The ability on display is nothing short of phenomenal from everyone. That said, there are moments on this that did annoy me, and this is going to piss off a lot of people on this panel right now, because Happy Song was one of those tracks that pissed me off.
That's cool.
It was by the numbers. It's like, hey, look, I've got this many musical theory fucking things coming out the wazoo. Look how good I am.
Jesus, I wish I could do that by the numbers.
No, fuck. Yeah, but it's one of those things where it's elitist. It's from the top down, from the title. Happy Song? Fucking really? And then they go and play the major chords, make it almost like a power pop punk song. It's like, fuck off. I didn't
What kind of power pop punk are you listening to?
Obviously not the same shit. It was some 41-ish kind of territory.
Oh, dear.
Got that one into.
Fuck. I need a drink. Wrap it up.
Now, if you're into the whole prog technical side of things, this will rattle your cage and get you going. This will get you going. But this, at the same time, for what Mick was saying too, I do agree, it didn't bring anything really new to the table for me either. There's nothing you haven't heard before being done on this particular record. It's all very well done, but it's not, oh my God, it didn't have that effect. I mean, I'm glad it did for Brendan. I'm actually surprised at that, but for me, it didn't grab me the way it did.
I've never heard him do Out of the Blue, though. That track really surprised me.
Yeah, but you're much more in line with his career and stuff than I am, and I'm just taking this album on its own, on its merits, and there was nothing on here that I haven't heard from other guitarists doing this sort of stuff before. So it wasn't, do you know what I mean? I'm looking for something to make it leap out from the pack, and while it wasn't as bad as a lot of the other ones I've heard, this is much better than a lot of the ones. I enjoyed this a lot more. I'm always very cautious of these releases because I tend to find they fall into the elitism trap where it's like, okay, look at all the things I can do because I can, and just because you can doesn't mean you should.
You should.
But that said, this is a lot better than all those ones that I'm generally critiquing when I say those sort of words. I think this one is a lot better than the rest, just not as highly regarded as what's been done here. I think it's worth persisting with this one too because it does grow on you the more you listen to it. I gave this one at least 3 passes and I enjoyed it more each time. But I'm not sure that now that we've gone through this point, I'm not sure there's anything here that's going to drag me back to it. There's a few songs that I'll go back to, but the whole thing, I don't know if I'll sit through it again. So for me, it was good. It's not as up there as other people have said here. I gave it a 7 out of 10. Glassy-Eyed Zombie seems to be a general standout for everyone, which is pretty cool. I also picked Temple of Circadia and Snake in My Boot as well. So yeah, there we go. Let us know your thoughts out there in the comments. I'm sure that didn't quite go the way I thought it'd go. I thought it'd be a bit more.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Brendan liked it so much.
Yeah, that was the big surprise for me. I compared this one to I know that if you want to go technical proficiency in that, we listened to the, Brendan and I did the John 5 album.
John 5, love that album.
And that's what I'm looking for. That was fun, energy, feel, all those things. And that's what's going to get my attention a lot more than one like this. Yes, okay, Tim, I know you're shaking your head.
that was a great album. Come on.
That was a fantastic album. But all right, let's move on. Let's go to the big guns while Dave has disappeared and left his gun.
We can have a refill. People can refill.
Oh, you're going to have a quick break. Okay, cool. We'll do a dodgy edit right about here. We'll come back with the dodgy edit again and move into this one, will we? Everyone good to go? All right, cool. Dodgy edit. We're back from the bad edit. All right. So now we're back. We're going to move into Metallica, the heavyweights of this episode with S&M 2. 22 tracks for 2 hours and 23 minutes. Thank you very much. The follow-up to the first album that was done some 20 years ago. This was released on August 2020 via Blackened Recordings, produced by Greg Fielman, James Hetfield, and Lars Ulrich. This was recorded over 2 different shows and also has a video of this concert released, which I do want to check out one day. Let's go to Brendan first for this one. Where did you land on S&M 2?
Okay, if you haven't seen it, you're not going to get it, I don't think, and we'll see what everyone says. I had the pleasure of actually seeing this in the cinema when it came out. Must be 12 months ago now. It's been
about a year,
bloody long time.
September last year.
And when I saw it in the movies, I saw it with Nick, and we were both pretty bloody moved by it. I certainly was. It was amazing. They're playing in the round. It looks incredible, and as far as what it does for someone that isn't, I'm not obviously orchestrally trained or particularly savvy. What you're hearing combined with what you're seeing, it actually makes a massive difference. So I was actually really looking forward to this coming out. When I bought it and I listened to just the CDs, and I found them quite dull, which is a bit odd. I still, to be honest, I prefer it a lot more over the first S&M. I thought Michael Kamen's arrangements were, although they're probably much smarter and much more technical arrangements than these ones are, they didn't complement the songs anywhere near as well.
Okay.
I think these arrangements complement the songs much better. They're probably simpler, but for that reason, they actually sort of go with the groove of the songs much better. But without the visual, I found it a bit disappointing. And actually, for that reason, I went and actually watched, because I got the thing with the Blu-ray as well, and I watched it again this afternoon. And again, I was really quite moved by it when you can watch it. You can see the emotion they're playing, and particularly when the bass player from the band does Anesthesia with, and he does it on a double bass with a bow, which for a lot of people listening to it probably wouldn't pick up by ear. I mean, some guys as musicians certainly would, but
the only part of that is when the drums kick in toward the back end of that. Yeah. Is that still the double bass, or is that when Trujillo?
Yeah, still double bass. Yeah, it's just Lars and just go with the double bass. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I didn't know that. That was the only part.
It's pretty stirring stuff. It really is. And a couple of tracks that come after that, I really like as well. Where are we? So when the ones before that. Unforgiven 3, when it's just James actually singing with the orchestra, no band, and some All Within My Hands when they're all playing acoustic instruments. I think it's probably the highlight of the whole bloody thing. I really enjoyed it, but as a CD, I'd give it a 6.5. As a Blu-ray, I'd give it a 9.
Yeah.
So figure it out for yourself.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, Mick, let's go to you next.
Yeah. Obviously, we've all heard the original or the first one, whatever you want to call it, S&M. And I thought it was good, but it wasn't great. The same kind of things that Brenda might have said. I thought some of the arrangements, or maybe some of the song selections on the first one, I thought they were already too busy, and then you put an orchestra with it, it just became messy. Whereas this one, I didn't need to hear the same songs again, to be honest with you. The way it started with Ecstasy of Gold and Call of the it's like, why are you doing this again? That was a bit disappointing for me.
It could have started with Orion, would have been much better.
Orion or To Live Is To Die or something. To
Live Is To Die.
Even Suicide and Redemption, I think, would have worked.
Yeah.
The same songs.
Yeah, but what I did like was the newer material. I thought that really comes through. The Day That Never Comes sounded fantastic.
Yeah, that sounded great.
You mentioned it earlier, Brendan, All Within My Hands. That was fucking great. A lot of the stuff this time around, with the later albums, I guess, for lack of a better word, they sounded really good. I thought it was captured better. I just liked the mix of it, or the balance of it, better than the first S&M. And I thought James sounded a hell of a lot better on this one than he did on the previous one 20 years ago.
Agree with that.
There is a lull point in it, and maybe, like Brendan said, you need to watch the Blu-ray and you might get more out of it. But when the conductor, and then when Lars is talking to the audience, and it felt like it was like 3 hours of just Lars talking about nothing really. And then the guy comes out and starts having his spiel about this and that. It's like on a CD or on just an audio, it's just...
Yeah, they're not contributing.
It's like a Paul Stanley rant from 1984. No one needs it, 7 minutes of bullshit. But overall, I thought this one was better than the first one. Having said that, hearing some of the songs again, and maybe they've been slightly tweaked or whatever, say For Whom the Bell Tolls might be slightly different, but it wasn't enough variance for me, I still got more out of the newer songs that were played. I gave it, it was too long. It probably should have been edited or something. I gave it a 6.5 out of 10. Only because the way it started, some of the songs I'd already done before. For me, this is an event. And I was having a discussion with somebody recently, and I said, how many bands can play anything from any album and the crowd would know it? And I thought of two bands, and probably they're the only two bands, and it would be Iron Maiden and Metallica. It doesn't matter what they play off any album, the crowd will go nuts or they'll know it. You don't have to play the select few hits.
Not many, yeah.
I would have liked Metallica to have done the full brand new set, and made this a staple of S&M2, whatever we're at today, That's my only major criticism. I do think it was overall put together better. The Day That Never Comes and All Within My Hands were my standouts, and Unforgiven 3.
Yeah, cool. Yep. All right, Dave, over to you.
The symphony brings out a different dynamic of songs that we're very familiar with, but a lot of the times I felt like it was underused. I felt they could have done a lot more with it, mainly because, I probably listened to more symphonic metal than I did 20 years ago, so I thought there's a lot more options for this. But overall, like what Mick has mentioned, the set list is really disappointing. 10 of these songs on this were on the previous one. And, I know they have to play one, Master of Puppets and The Sandman, but there were so many other songs that would have been a lot more interesting from the back catalogue. And come on, Fade to Black, Sanitarium, Orion, To Live Is to Die, any of these would have sounded cool with a symphony. Yeah. So I don't know.
Didn't need to do the... Hang on, sorry, I'm going through the track list.
Call of Cthulhu, Bell Tolls, Memory, No Leaf Clover. No Leaf Clover was written for the original.
I didn't understand why they did that again.
Yeah. Wherever I roam, Nothing Else Matters. We've heard these before.
Yeah.
So highlights of this album were the songs that we hadn't heard before, and we've touched on All Within My Hands, and they've done that acoustically before on the Helping Hands they had out earlier this year, the bushfire relief over in America. But that's amazing acoustic. I love the original on Saint Anger, but hearing that acoustic and slow down and adding a symphony to it, that was amazing. And of course, as Brendan said, Anesthesia, hearing that, I'd probably have to see the DVD to fully appreciate it, because this just was really underwhelming. Performances are fine. Band sounds great. The symphony sounds great, but it's just this comes down to the set list, and they had a big opportunity to add. If they had a whole new different person doing the arrangements, they could have revisited a lot of the songs that they didn't touch on the first time around, but they just played it safe, which is weird for Metallica, and did 10 songs they already done. They knocked out 9. Some of them would have been better to keep than what they chose to keep in the first place, but overall, I gave it 7, and I originally gave it 6. I didn't want to score Metallica 6. I bumped it up to 7.
Wow.
But my standouts were The Day That Never Comes, Confusion, Mop Into the Flame, Hail on Fire, Unforgiven 3, All Within My Hands, Anesthesia. The songs that aren't on the original, they were the ones that stood out for me. The other ones were just like, yep, I've heard them before. It's a great live album, but You got a symphony with you. Do something great.
Yeah, it should have been an event. It really should have been part 2 or whatever, and whole new series. They could have got away with it.
Everybody owns Symphony of Metallica, or has at least heard it. If you're a Metallica fan, you go to see this gig.
This is full
show.
minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, you want something different.
Yeah, the hardcore fans would have been there, and that's about it, you know.
Yeah.
So
this is going to win you fans. You're not going to suddenly convert the orchestra fans into the Metallica fans for doing a record like this. That's just not going to happen.
I do wonder, though, James entered rehab not long after this. Did they do the easy load because he had his issues? Could that be the reason?
I don't know about that, because to prep these things will probably take over 12 months. So
yeah, you're right.
I don't know about that. All right.
Yeah, but a lot of them are regular staples of the Metallica set, so it might have been easier just to brush up quickly, you know, if they hadn't played together for a while. So
yeah.
Tim, what about you?
I'm going to defend this album.
Okay, cool.
So first, Metallica have fucked up set lists before. They played on Antarctica and didn't play Trapped Under Ice.
yeah, that's true.
So cut them some slack. But, look, we've all seen Metallica live as well. I don't reckon everybody would have known half these songs, because we all know that we know that they are the Triple M crowd there that are there to hear Nothing Else Matters and Enter Sandman, and we know that they generally get confused when Hit the Light starts playing. So I actually don't
imagine these tickets would have been cheap, though. So it would have been your diehard.
Yeah,
Metallica
even so, that if they're not cheap, that means there's a lot of, you know, upper middle class people in San Francisco who are buying these tickets, and I don't think any of them knew what Call of Cthulhu is. I think they all thought the song the first Metallica song would have been For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Judgment. Yeah.
Because again, you know, especially if you've seen it at a festival or anything where, or even like a Rod Laver show, then about half the crowd knows all the songs, about half the crowd are there to hear Enter Sandman.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is different, dude. This was like through the club.
Yeah, but that's what I mean too. Like, they're expensive tickets, and like unfortunately, diehard metalheads are they're us. You know,
if you do watch the DVD, the crowd's not particularly dynamic.
Okay, I do want to watch it.
It's an older crowd.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, it's
when it comes to the orchestra. When it comes to the orchestra, I thought the arrangements were much better, though. Rather than treating it like an orchestra playing for an orchestra, they treated it more as if they were doing a film score and had a, you know, subtlety to it and looked to add atmosphere rather than enjoying what they were playing, which, you know, not to say that they shouldn't be enjoying what they were playing, but they're not the ones selling the tickets for this thing. Overall, I thought it was really well done. I thought it was much better done than the first one. I think, were the vocals re-recorded?
I don't know.
Because they were re-recorded for the first one.
I don't get the impression they were on this one.
Yeah, because the first one they were, but they really stuck out. They kind of.
Fuck.
Really?
Yeah, the first S&M the vocals are re-recorded in the studio, and it sticks out like a sore thumb.
And that sounds shit house.
Yeah, exactly. But that's part of the reason, because it's
but he sounded terrible. Like, he was way out. Like,
yeah. So, yeah, for mine, I thought this was much better. I thought this was really well done. I thought, again, the songs, it is better with the visual aspect to it. But I think if you get a kick out of the type of sound that orchestras make, and if you like hearing, you know, musical soundtracks similar to that of, you know, Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or whatever, you get a kick out of that kind of shit, then you'll enjoy this. And I thought it was really well done. I gave it 9.5 out of 10.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Yeah, again, obviously the new tracks, The Day That Never Comes and all that, are my highlights. But again, even for the older songs, I think they were better performed this time around than the first time around.
Okay. Cool. Just as a curiosity thing, have any of you guys done anything with anything like an orchestra before?
Yeah, I've sung in a choir and things like that.
Okay, cool. Because I've actually done full-blown productions with orchestras and choral units and stuff before many, 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 many years ago. And understanding how challenging those things are, the amount of rehearsals you have to do, and this is on stuff that's already pre-composed. Like I'm talking, I was doing Buck and things like that when I was a kid, whereas, you know, these things are new compositions and trying to meld two different worlds together. The amount of work that goes into these is not to be dismissed, and I do really want to watch this because I love this kind of shit. Now, I grew up with orchestral music going on, so for me, this is like the crossover of two worlds for me, kind of thing. One of my favourite metal bands, plus, you know, the old influences I had growing up. So I love SMM1, even though I know it's not perfect. I do enjoy it a lot, and this one probably does beat that in a lot of respects. I'm happy to see this one out now, and it'll be interesting. I'll get to a bit more on that later on. I'll see if they'll do another one, but you need to listen to this one properly. I know that it's one of those ones I can see that, yeah, you need to sit down and watch this one. This is not the sort of album you can put on through, you know, your Apple earbuds in a noisy work environment and try and listen to it. It's not going to do it any justice whatsoever. The mix is more subtle than that. You've got to be able to have like good speakers or good headphones on to really take in the soundscape that goes in this, because a lot of it is very, very subtle, and it's all about how the thing fleshes out, and like the scoring of the orchestra parts are in such a way that they're meant to fill things out and not try and make busy moments more busy. They're meant to just sort of fill the things out, and then when the band go a bit quieter, they become a bit busier then. So it's all about that counterpoint balance kind of stuff going on. I thought the composition was fantastic in that regard for this. The performances are really good. Getting Lars to play in time to a conductor is going to be challenging.
Lars' performance on this compared to the first one was spectacular.
Yeah. And
he still rushes, though, which shits me to tears.
Yeah, he does speed up, and I think it's even more noticeable on this one.
He does, but I mean,
he was cleaner. Lane was cleaner on this.
Yeah.
So his roles were a lot cleaner, which was.
But it's also either Lars was better adapted to sort of come back to the pack a bit, or the conductor was better than, dare I say it, Michael Kamen was at bringing the orchestra up to par with where Lars was sitting on things, so it gelled properly.
What for me it felt like the conductor had listened to a lot of live Metallica.
Yeah.
And he knew, okay, when one comes in and the machine gun starts, he speeds up.
Yeah.
So look out for that.
Yeah. And so, you know, a lot of those things, the tells were there, so they all knew what they were going to get. And so they all, instead of trying to make it this pristine, perfect thing, which a lot of the orchestras fall into the trap of doing, they've embraced the two sides of the coin kind of thing, and it's worked really well here.
Don't you always wonder, though, what fucking first-chair violin's thinking?
They're going to be losing their
Lars is rushing to your beat going, seriously, this cunt's a millionaire? Seriously?
They hate people like this. Like, they are not going to. They are going to look down their noses at people like.
Oh, sure.
They're going to look down their noses at it, but at the end of the day, they're going to. This will be the most successful thing they've ever done.
And the thing is too, that they would have never played to a crowd like this in their lives. Like the roar from the crowd that comes through the audio of this was fantastic, and the orchestra would get a rush out of that too. So. Again, the way this thing's been done, the professionalism on display from Metallica, the orchestra, the conductor, the work, and getting it to come off without being a hot fucking mess is really well done. The mix was good. There was one thing I noted in there about the first few songs. The bass tone sounded like a bloody Jews harp. I'm glad they fixed it up after a few tracks. They really had like the saw wave going on the bass for no apparent reason for like the first three songs, I think it is, and then it sort of comes away after that, which is just, I don't know what was going on there. I think that we're talking a lot about the newer song list because the older songs we've done before, this one's all about the new songs. So I think the way these were arranged on this, like things like Day That Never Comes, All Within My Hands, all that sort of stuff, they work better in this sitting, especially All Within My Hands. I think this is a much better arrangement and presentation than was had on Sananga. Much, much better. This worked so well.
Yeah, the snares were on.
Oh, here we go again. Yeah, there was an actual snare with it. It's all been said before, but I really enjoyed this one, and I think that this is pretty organically like presented. It sounds like you're there in a room. Also remembering too that when you're doing these sorts of things, the way it's performed and recorded and stuff, it's always going to be about the room and the acoustics of where you're playing, and that's going to affect the mix and stuff too. But that's not meant to be for digitized consumption, so to speak. It's meant to be an experience when you go into the room for it. And so I imagine being in the room, hence watching it, would give you a different appreciation of this thing. I do want to see it. Anesthesia gave me goosebumps just listening to it. I want to watch that because that was fucking amazing for mine. I really liked it. I thought you could tell that I think James is a bit sort of, like, he says the words of taking a risk, but I think he actually meant it when he said it. I didn't see his face when he was saying it, but, I think there was a bit of nerves about playing Anesthesia, but I thought they fucking pulled it off really well.
And when you see it, it means something more.
Yeah.
Because you see the guy playing it, he knows what he's playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he knows the impact that tune has.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because for a lot of people, like, listen to Kill 'Em All, like, back in the day, like, that was a standout track.
That's one of my favourite tracks on that record today.
Yeah, it's an amazing bit of music, and so to see it presented like that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I do want to watch it. I want to sit down and watch them. It's one of those ones you got to sit down and really take it in, but I'm glad for my background that I was able to really appreciate this one as it's presented as well. For mine, I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. I think it's really cool. I think the only editing they could have done would be to cut out the spoken part because in a listening experience, it doesn't cross over quite as well. But that said, for me, it kept the organic feel and flow of actually just capturing a concert as opposed to trying to pick the best bits kind of thing. So it served a purpose in that regard for me. Well, like I said, 8.5 out of 10 for me. I picked Unforgiven 3, All With My Hands, Moth into Flame, and Anesthesia Pulling Teeth. Before we move on, a question without notice on this one, though. Do you guys think there's room for one more? And if they do it, what would you like to see differently done from this? Just briefly, Mick.
Just a completely different set list.
Yep.
That's the biggest thing for me. They've got such a repertoire of songs that everybody knows. And I'd like to hear some of the stuff that really got shit canned because I think that's the stuff that works best. Like the Load and Reload. I love them to dig a lot more out of those albums. And even the St. Angus stuff, if you're going to be doing All Within My Hands, I'd love to hear Frantic and, even the song St. Anger because even the verses are very laid back. Imagine what you could do, with those sort of lighter verses and stuff. And then when the band comes in, I think, there's a lot of scope for them to go into, Ride the Lightning and dig out a few from there. And, if they come out with something like that, where it's just like, I don't know, obscure S&M, for example, which wouldn't be for the Metallica, the average Metallica fan, because we know the stuff anyway. I think it would be fantastic. It's still bold, still to this day. It was bold 20 years ago when they did it. I was, to go back to your comment before, I was at the Kiss Symphony.
Yeah.
So, yes, you watch it on DVD and it sounds big, but it's nothing to when you're in that fucking room. And that was at the Telstra Dome at that point, Marvel Stadium, whatever you want to call it now. And, that was amazingly huge when you heard a song like God of Thunder. So, it's never going to quite transcend through a CD player or a Blu-ray, even though it probably looks good visually. But, look, I still think this is much better. Like it didn't, you don't go away from this one going, geez, they should not have done that, But just completely different set list, man. Really go out, be Metallica, and just give us everything that you've never played before. Like My Friend of Misery. How good would that fucking sound? There's so many songs where I start thinking, Leopard Messiah, I think would be fucking fantastic.
Spit out the bone.
There's a ton of songs that I think they could really regroove and rework.
Yeah. So. Dave, what about you? Room for more?
Yeah, the original had 2 original songs that were written and performed, Minus Human and No Leaf Clover. So it's like they were more enthusiastic the first time around than they were with this one. So a couple of original tracks, they've got 3 or 4 or 5 instrumental songs, and they chose to do the same one. So there's plenty of other material they could pick.
Even that Mission Impossible song they did.
Yeah.
I Disappear.
Yeah. That would sound fucking wicked with that shit going on.
Yeah. So. There's plenty of stuff. I mean, there's not much. Death Magnetic had some cool stuff. They could have done... that was Broken Bean and Scarred. That would have been cool to do.
Yeah. Cyanide would have been
All Nightmare Long.
Yeah, Cyanide would be killer. That breakdown riff.
So, just like I said in the review, the set list was really underwhelming. There's so much more material. So, absolutely. Do a third one and completely different set list. Write some new songs, do some ones you haven't done before. Cool, I'll be in.
Brendan?
Yeah, the most disappointing thing is they didn't consult me first. That's a bit heartbreaking. But yeah, okay, I don't want to back over the same fucking corpse. But they're a bit more mixed up in the set. Call of Cthulhu was very disappointing, but they could have gone with Orion, and particularly because the way they ended. What was the movie they did, the 3D one? Through the Never? Was it?
The motion picture, blah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, the Orion thing they did at the end of that, in the empty
That was
stadium.
cool. That's a cool version, though.
That is so cool. So you can imagine that with sort of the orchestra in the round thing.
Yes, I can.
I can't believe they didn't do it. I'm a bit staggered. But, look, we're probably being Metallica wankers a bit, as Tim was saying, to the, to the uninitiated, it's probably the set list they had to play. Yeah. To the hardcore fans, we want the variety, but I couldn't implore with anyone more like watch it, don't listen to it. Yeah, it will make a massive difference.
Tim, where do you think there's room for more of these?
The two songs there is room because they play two. The two songs that I want to hear are The Track and Justice for All, and Frayed Ends of Insanity.
Yeah,
that would be fucking epic to hear Friday.
Yeah, so I'd love to hear. Of course, we'd all love to hear those classic album tracks.
Creeping Death.
Creeping Death would be fantastic. Even like Escape.
Yeah.
I don't think the thing that should not be would be great.
That'd be awesome. But that was
with that big riff in there, but unfortunately, I don't see them doing that. I think if they're going to do it again,
I don't think they will do it again. This is the thing.
Yeah, I don't think they will. If they are going to do it again, it'll be in 20 years' time when they've got 3 more albums. But if there's going to be Metallica in 20 years' time, we shall see.
No, I doubt it.
You've got our number. Call us.
Yeah, look, Lars, if you want me to fill in for a few gigs, I'm happy to do it. I'll clear my schedule.
For mine, just quickly, it was cool. I know that weren't new songs written for this, but it was very, very cool to get those different moments at the start of side 2. That was the most interesting side of things for me, like where you're getting just the orchestral stuff. That was a nice touch. Then you get the band to play along with the orchestra, no vocals, which was really cool too. And then you get the stuff where they strip back and it's just James with the orchestra, which is not easy to do. And then you've got also the acoustic stuff in there. So I liked how they did that. I'd like to see them do another one. I like to see them do more bold exploration with that sort of stuff. Make it an actual symphony kind of a thing. Have the electric stuff in there for sure. Don't cut it out, but explore that area of things more. You could really play with the arrangements of the songs. You've got enough depth with the soundscape to do this sort of stuff. But I'd also like to see them explore, if you're going to make this a big event, do things like this with guests coming on. Like, it's as funny as it sounds, the rehearsal version of Moth into Flame with Lady Gaga, that would be cool in this setting.
It would.
That would work. So I'd like to see guests come into this and make it give it 12 to 18 months of real planning and go ham on it. I reckon that would be a really cool thing. You could do it every 5 to 10 years, change that set list up, do some other stuff, some covers in there as well. They've got this huge catalogue. Imagine some of the covers they could have done, like Astronomy.
Yeah. They did that on their 30-year anniversary. They did 4 nights for the fan club for their 30-year anniversary. They did a different set list every night. They opened with a different instrumental track. They had all the guests. Ron McGavie came in and played. There's so much they can do. Yeah, so why not do it with a symphony? That'd be cool.
Yeah. It'd take a lot more work, but I reckon if you give it a good couple of years planning, it'd be awesome to do it. And then it's just an event for the fans. You're not trying to win your deal at this point in time. So that's mine. But we've been Metallica fanning for probably a good half hour or so now, so we'll move a little while.
This is not going to make it to TV, is it?
Probably, this would be an episode in itself. I'll go and find, they've got like 4 clips of this, I think, available, so I'll go and find those 4 clips and interject them into this, and that's an episode of TV done. Beautiful. Makes my life easy. But yeah, I think we'll move along and get out of here in just a moment. But before we do that, we'll have to go to the bin, of course. So we're going to throw to you, Mick. What have you got in the bin this week?
I'm going to throw professional sportsmen or mainly AFL players. Okay, I'm sick and tired of hearing, I've tried to sneak my girlfriend in, or I did. You know the rules by now, okay? More than anybody. And we all know the fucking rules as we hear them 450 fucking times a day.
Yep.
What you can and can't do. If it's not a commercial on the radio, it's hitting you on the TV. It's billboards. There's fucking shit everywhere. I can't accept drunkenness and buying kebabs at 3:30 in the morning when you're in a situation where you're fortunate enough to still be doing what you love and what you're highly paid for, and you are role models. And I'm just getting tired of hearing the slaps on the wrist. Now, if it was you and I, if you're out now, because currently we're in curfew.
Yeah.
So
if you're out right now, we're all screwed.
When you get caught, you're going to be paying that $2,000 fine or whatever it is, and at least getting it. I don't know if you're going to pay it, but it just seems to be. Nathan Buckley a few weeks ago did something. When are we going? I mean, I think the sanction was pretty harsh on these players tonight, but I'm just sick and tired of the carelessness. And the complaints by the players, how tough it is, because I'm in a 5-star hotel and I'm in the sun and I've got a fucking pool 5 meters away. Fuck off. I lost so much respect for Jack Rewald when he goes, I would constantly question myself, why am I doing this? Because I've got a family. You're doing it because that's what you get paid to fucking do, you dickhead. Okay? That's your job. Okay? If you want the luxury and the lifestyle that you fucking have, it's because of that fucking jumper that you wear. So don't fucking complain because you had to go and stay somewhere for a few weeks. You're not slumming it. This isn't a fucking, caravan park or something. You're fine. The money in your bank is still there. So
like Judd complaining today on Instagram.
Oh yeah, it's enough's enough.
Would they be doing it if they were getting paid what we were all getting paid?
No, shit, no.
Fuck, mate, I wouldn't even be going to training, let alone going to a game. So, I'm just sick of this. I'm sick of different rules for different people. Some people get quarantined, some people don't, depending on your status in society. It's fucking bullshit. Yeah. Enough's enough.
All right. Brendan, over to you. What's he been?
He stole my bin in the last sentence.
Oh, go on. Elaborate. Go on, make it a bit
I thought he was going into footy players. I went, beautiful. I was going to sink the slipper into Danny Minogue. But yes.
Well, I didn't mention her name, so elaborate.
No, you didn't. But her and that pretentious prat that gets to go overseas to bring home his luxury fucking yacht.
Mm-hmm.
The different set of rules for rich people and not even
like Lynn Fox and all that.
Normal people,
fuck off to Queensland and,
Yeah, it's just fucking horseshit. And it's, it goes back. There's the wonderful Jim Jeffries one, and I understand the irony now that Jim Jeffries is probably quite well off, but when he goes into his whole thing about trophy hunting, and if you knew someone that did the same thing to their means, if you knew someone that knew a cat, you could usher it into your backyard, you paid him $5 and you threw a dart at it, the cat bled out, and you cut the cat's head off and you mounted the cat's head above your heater, you'd get locked up.
Yes.
But you pay $50,000 and do it with a fucking lion, and it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So fuck rich people.
Guillotine a lot.
Until I become one, and then I'll change my mind.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens to us all.
We'll all be getting exemptions and go.
We won't care because we won't be complaining because we'll be off on the Gold Coast having living it up in the next pandemic. Dave, what have you got for us?
Right. After many years of ignoring it, I recently started watching Stranger Things on Netflix.
Oh,
and
I know what this is.
Yeah. No, it's a great show. It's story-driven rather than character-driven, but what's bugging the shit out of me is Winona Ryder. She cannot act for shit. She is terrible. Every single scene she is in, regardless of what emotion she's supposed to be feeling, whether it's anxiety or fear or remorse or anything.
She's doing this.
A fucking cardboard box has more emotional depth than she does. She is the fucking worst actor I have ever seen. And it's
when you're shoplifting and you're a Hollywood star,
as soon as she appears on screen, I just fucking cringe because I'm like, oh my God, what is she going to destroy now? And no, I don't hate women. I'm not sexist. I hate shitty acting. Okay,
That's a leap.
I'm sorry if I triggered anyone, but my God, she is like the worst actress I have ever seen.
I love Winona.
Did you get Winona Ryder and Kirsten Stewart in a room? And
No, what they should do is like those MTV deathmatch things.
Yeah, celebrity deathmatch.
Get them for that.
Winona Ryder, Kirsten Stewart, and the Mona Lisa.
Kirsten Dunst as well. She can go in there.
Hey?
Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah.
Yeah. Winona's good.
No, she had a short-lived career, man. Like, I haven't seen her do anything in fucking years, man.
Yeah, the last thing I saw in The Crucible.
I haven't even seen that.
I can't remember.
Anyone saw that? You were the only one.
Yeah, it was for English class in high school.
All right, well, Tim, you've taken the floor. What's your bin for us this week?
Look, I'm still working during this pandemic in stage 4, and people who still just don't fucking get it. By which I mean people coming in, you still got to remind them to wear masks. You got to remind them that takeaway shops, that food shops are takeaway only. That even when you go to stage 2, that in order for you to be able to sit in, you've got to take all their details and have to sign in, sign out. That it's table service only and things like that. And there's a whole heap of restrictions that inconvenient that nobody wants to do, but we're all doing it, largely because a lot of people have been infected, and just overnight we've had a lot of deaths as we're recording this. So, you know, we're doing this to help protect the most vulnerable people in society, not necessarily yourselves. So try to be a little more unselfish.
Yep.
Yes.
Nice one.
I agree.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So I'll be the one, believe it or not, out of all the bins we do, I'm going to go with the lighter note this week. And I actually do genuinely mean that. I'm usually the fucking down on these ones. But for me, there is a certain brand of men's personal hygiene products going around at the moment. And their commercials can fuck right off. Okay?
Which
I have no interest in watching other men on TV sniff the absolute bejesus out of each other's armpits. What the actual fuck is that?
Yeah, but you are a tradie at heart. Come on.
Oh, yeah, we'll go with that, won't we? Fuck me dead. If that's not some of the worst, I know it's going to get the brand across and all sorts of stuff, so everyone's going to remember the name. But it makes me have no interest whatsoever in checking out the actual product. So well done on, that side of marketing, but not so good on the other side of marketing. So and some of it, like, they had the initial idea which had a bit of humor about it. And then they went from that and just lost the plot. And it's just so stupid. There's one where it's literally the guys going backward and forward and just sniffing each other. And it's like, I've never even seen that in the craziest shit I've ever seen in my life. Anyone ever go anywhere near doing that? It makes no fucking sense whatsoever. So fuck off with it.
Well, they're not following social distancing at all.
I wonder if it was like a B-side of the Masked Singer set and that's where it all came from.
The masked tradie.
Yeah. Fuck them. They can fuck off.
Yeah, no, they are pretty bad commercials. They don't.
It'll be one of those ones 10 years from now when they'll have that, the tour
bloopers and whatever. Yeah,
the worst commercials in history. It'll be one of those.
Be like Ants Pants. Sick and wet.
Sick and breasts.
Maybe won't know what that is.
Yeah,
I do. I remember that.
Bit before Tim's time, though.
He's Googling it now. We can see. So.
Yeah. He's got the keyboard up to the side.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
No, okay. We'll link you in later on, okay? We'll send you a link in the chat. All right. It's time for us to wrap up. Thank you all so much for tuning in with what you found it, did you, Tim? That went well. All right.
Seamless.
Awkward.
Yeah, not at all. It's like that those commercials I was talking about. But anyway, time for us to move along. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, details are somewhere on the screen. Make sure you're following all of our social media to keep up to date with all of our stupidity. And also continue to watch us on Channel 44, 10:30 p.m. in Adelaide on Thursday nights, and Channel 31, 10:30 p.m. Saturday nights in Melbourne and Geelong. But again, thank you to our wonderful sponsors, Splitting Screen Printing, Alcott, and Rockstar Finance, and please do support us via Patreon as well. And if you can't do that, just please follow our sponsors on social media, if nothing else, because that is a good chop out as well. But that's it for this week. We'll be back again with more sometime very, very soon. What it is, we don't know yet. We'll work it out as we wrap up this one now. But that's it for now. I'm Andrew.
I'm Mick.
I'm Dave.
I'm Brendan.
I'm Tim.
We'll see you all again very soon. Until then,
Drink up.
Drink up.
Rock
Come on, drink it. Come on, rock it.
It's drunk. Any more?
Yeah, just get pissed and listen to music.
That sounds like a good plan.
I didn't hate it. Like, it's still very good, but
It's so much more groove than Dream Theater, though. That's what I loved.
yeah, it was more straightforward. It was
So
definitely
much
more
more
straightforward. And they've
And that's
done a
what
couple
gets you
of
about
albums.
Dream Theater generally. Like, it's nothing against their ability, obviously.
It might be a little bit.
Geez, that bass player's a bit shit. It's not that.
It's actually kind of his third solo album. He did this with Jordan Rudess. It's just keyboard and guitars. But that wasn't really publicised or anything. It's actually a really good listen. Yeah, avoid Halford's Christmas album. That's bad. It's really bad.
Winter Songs.
Probably would have made that assumption.
It's not a great album, that one.
What did I say in the review? He was choking on eggnog or something?
Yeah.
Gagging on eggnog. That was
Yeah. And you made that into a double entendre pretty quick as well, from memory.
More of a single entendre there.
Oh, yeah, pretty much. There's not a lot of subtlety
That
involved
one.
in that one.
I'd say Halford would be into those tradie commercials. I'd say he'd buy the box for, wouldn't he? So
He'd be probably the proprietor.
I'll have a pellet of that stuff right now. So.